Alex Beattie's own journey through divorce inspired the creation of the Divorce Planner. As a seasoned divorce coach, Alex has empowered thousands to proactively navigate separation and divorce so they embark on their journey with confidence, financial clarity, and resilience. Alex gives them tools that help them focus on goals, get clarity on their finances, and organize essential divorce documents. Her strategic approach is helping clients save both time and money. It helps them make informed decisions as they're negotiating their divorces. Now, Alex is a rock star. She's been a featured expert all over the place, including the New York Times, Parents Magazine, and Real Simple. So thank you, Alex, for coming to talk with us today about planning and preparing for your divorce.
I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, it's fun because so much of what you do is really complementary to what we do at the Divorce Money Guide. And I'm so happy that we get to talk about this. And I love that we're calling this Why Early Preparation is Your Secret Weapon During Divorce, because it really is, right? He who is prepared, she who is prepared is gonna automatically have a better outcome, I think.
You're 100% right. The thing is, when you get to the point in a marriage where you think that a separation or a divorce is imminent, it can really put you into a tailspin of uncertainty. And one of the only ways really to take control of the reins in your future is to start preparing for what is next. A lot of people want to bury their head in the sand, and that's a surefire way to set yourself up for failure. And it can feel really overwhelming and daunting, and most people don't know where to start. And that's where I come in.
I love it. I know that you like to say that everyone should separate the emotions of the divorce from the business side, and I could not agree with you more. So tell everyone why this emotional and business separation is so important.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Look, as I said, it's like one of the most triggering things when you are going through a split are the business aspects, as well as if you have kids, the timeshare. It's all of the kind of more nuts and bolts of what a divorce is. And a divorce is a legal unraveling of a contract, but it doesn't feel that way. What divorce really does is brings up a ton of emotions. And as you cited, yes, I have a holistic approach to the coaching I do, that there's an emotional side to divorce and there's a business side, and you need to separate the two of them as soon as possible. The reason for this is pretty easy to understand. The last thing you want to do is to put yourself in a position where you have big feelings dictating big decisions. Those two things don't go together. Everything needs to be kind of put into their own separate buckets, whether this is an emotional reaction or is this a smart business decision. And I think there's a lot of confusion out there too about where do I put what? And the last thing you want to do is bring all of your emotional neuroses and fears to a divorce attorney or a mediator, because they're not a therapist and they will charge you like a divorce attorney or a mediator. That, and it really sets you up to take your next steps with clarity and financial confidence. And those are two of the biggest triggers that most people have starting this process. When you are able to have a clear understanding of what your goals are for your divorce, as well as what you want your life to look like after, it sets you up to have a guide as you move through the negotiation process. That, and crunching the numbers of your life as early as possible, puts you in a position to anything that's proposed, you've got the math ready. You can run it through your numbers and say, this is going to work for me or this doesn't work for me. All of these tools empower you. Without all of this information, how are you going to get the outcome you want? It's real basic.
Okay, it's really easy though to say separate out those emotions. Do
Yeah.
you have some techniques or tips for doing that?
That's an excellent question. Thank you for asking, Tracy. Yes, I do. My whole platform is founded on the idea of, as somebody who went through a divorce on her own after a very long-term relationship and marriage, I wanted to give people a way to easily have access to all of this information as to how to separate them, no matter what their budget level. So I'll just run through, whether it's, through my blog or through digital tools or working with me, everything is the same. And I want people to really focusing on their future. Number one, identifying when triggers come up, assessing where they are now in their life and what they want their life to look like after divorce. Those are all the emotional side of the process. So, by kind of doing some introspection, by looking to your future, by writing down what you want that future to look like, is going to start to help you segue those emotions to one side of the process. And you're going to be able to more easily identify when you're having a reaction, because I want you to be proactive and not reactive. And when you take the time to really sit with those big feelings, figure out how you can harness them to actually improve what your next chapter is going to be, it puts you in that position. And that's always where you want to be, leading the process. Now, look, that doesn't mean things aren't going to get thrown at you, that aren't going to give you all the feels. That's fine. By practicing this in advance of even sitting down with a divorce attorney, what you're doing is you're setting a template for the process. When these things come up, I now have the tools to realize I'm having an emotional reaction. I need to take a beat. I need to take a breath, and I need to see what this means and make sure it's not going to shoot me in the foot if I answer right now during a negotiation process. I hope that clarifies it.
It does. And I think that people mistakenly think that when they hear separate the emotions, that they think it means they're not allowed to feel emotions. And everything I hear you saying, it's not that at all. You are allowed to feel the emotions. It's an emotional time. But the idea is that you're feeling your emotions and really having a time and a place for that, so that when it's time to get down to that business of divorce, you can get down to that business.
That's exactly right. And all of these tools really serve you going through your split, whether it's the early separation process, whether it's going through the actual divorce process, and in your life after. It puts you in control of this big life change. And look, nobody gets married thinking they're going to get a divorce. It's just not the way it works. But also, people don't expect to lose jobs, people don't expect to get sick. Shit happens, right? So, by putting yourself in the best position and giving yourself the tools that are going to help you navigate these big life changes, you're investing in your future.
Okay, a big part of divorce is being strategic. You really have to figure out what you want to walk away from this marriage with, what's fair, what really makes sense, and then plan your strategy on how to get what it is that you want. And I always tell my clients it's not that we're being sneaky or greedy, but we're being strategic, and that's just smart business. So, why do you, Alex, think that this strategy is so important? And especially even when people think that they're involved in an amicable divorce, we're getting along, we're agreeing on things. Why do we still have to think about being strategic?
That's a great question. It's so interesting that you actually brought up the amicable divorce part. I think people are really surprised when they go through what is a friendlier divorce or an amicable divorce, that still big feelings come up. You know, the idea of something being fair in divorce is what a lot of our friends in the divorce community call the F word, because during divorce, equity is the name of the game. And what feels fair to one person can feel really unfair to another person.
Hmm.
So, kind of going back to the strategy of it all, that is a really important component of it, because you have to anticipate, okay, well, here are my priorities. Here are things I'm willing to let go of because I know the other person might want. And you kind of have to put yourself in a position to, I understand here are the numbers, or here's the parenting time, or here are the assets that I want. And I understand I'm probably not going to get all of it. Number one, you need to be reasonable when you approach it. You need clarity for strategy, and you need to be reasonable. I think a lot of people also are not familiar with negotiations. It can feel really intimidating. And like I said, even in the most amicable of situations, I actually have a post I did for social media where it was an example of what the mediation process feels like. And it's like you sit down and you might have this great first meeting, but you're scared and you're feeling prepared. And then you get the notes back, right, from the mediator. And then your soon to be ex puts their notes in. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is why kind of having a strategy and thinking through these beats before going through them is really, really helpful as well, because then all is not lost. It's just a part of the process. And to navigate the process, you need a North Star. And that goes back to my whole, ethos, which is you do need to separate the emotional side from the business side, because when you pinpoint what you want your future to look like, where your priorities are, and what your goals are, that's your North Star throughout the negotiation of your divorce. And that is your strategy. I also think that, kind of jumping back to what I was saying about people thinking, I'm going to get everything and the other person's going to get nothing. It's not the way the law works. And so preparing yourself and kind of sitting with these realities in advance really sets you up for a successful split and to be able to create the life you want after your divorce.
Well, I always tell my clients, you have to start thinking about what you want and prioritizing. So, like, what are the most important things you want to walk away from? And of course, I'm talking about the financial stuff, but there is child custody and parenting time and all those things involved as well. I also ask them to think about what things are you willing to compromise on? Let's start to think about some things that you will be able to later sort of give up in the negotiation so that your ex can feel like they're getting a win. If you are divorcing a spouse who needs to feel like they have a win in this process, like, let's think about what kind of wins we could give them that might actually be things that you're not wanting to hold on to anyway.
I think that's 100% right. And if you don't do the planning and preparing in advance of those negotiations, or you're not in a position where you have that information and you start meeting with attorneys or you hire somebody, they can't do their job. You can't get the outcome that you want, and kind of starting from the get go of realizing that you are a team with your divorce professional throughout this process. You need to be able to communicate and articulate. You need to anticipate the things that are triggering you. They're probably going to be triggering your soon to be ex during the process. And as you said, you need to have an idea of what am I willing to give up to, and what is the most important to me, and put it in tiers. Not every person, as we mentioned, has experience during negotiation. And to be able to have your game plan kind of set in advance, knowing that, yes, there could be ups and downs and you might need to be kind of malleable during the process, you still are putting yourself in a position, if it's new to you, where you're kind of practicing things, right? I would say separately also about giving the other person the win or setting yourself up for success. I want people to really, with that clear idea of what they want out of their divorce, I want them to be looking at everything that's proposed. And I'm always talking to clients about put it through the 5-5-5 rule before you agree to anything. How's this going to affect me in 5 days? How's it going to affect me in 5 weeks, 5 months, 5 years, etc.? And if you put it through a lens and it comes out clean and it's not going to hurt, great. Then you have something you can work on. A lot of times something's going to come up and people think, no, I just can't get rid of that, or I can't give that, or I need that. And then when you put it through that kind of thinking, you see, oh, wait, that's not as important as I thought, right? So there are all these different tips and tricks. I go through them at length. There's a lot of free information in my blog. If people are interested, please look it up. But I know your website is a wealth of information too, which is why, like, I love talking to you, because you're of the same kind of ilk. I'd rather give all the information out there to help somebody else,
Right.
because I just want to make it easier for other people. It doesn't have to be overwhelming and scary.
It's scary enough. And so anything that we can do to make it a little bit easier, I'm all on board for. Okay, so if I'm going to get divorced, then what I hear you saying is I should just run off and hire a divorce attorney and file right away, right? Is that what you said?
That's going to be a big no.
That's going to be a no. What? Shocking. Okay, it's true.
Stop.
I set that one up. I knew you were going to say no.
It's true. I think, look, there's a lot of points you need to kind of go through before you get to the point where you're hiring somebody. And the first thing you need to be doing, that I know I talk about ad nauseum, is you need to educate yourself. So yes, that means educating yourself about what your financial realities are now, what your goals are, what you want your future to look like, as well as what kind of divorce do I want, right? Is this going to be a mediation? Is is it more of a collaborative divorce? Are we going to hire two lawyers and go to court? There's so many different types of the process you need to choose from. But what I love about working with people early in their split and getting them prepared is then it puts them in a position when they are taking those consultations with divorce attorneys or mediators where they can ask questions with specificity because they've assessed their finances, they know what their priorities are. So they want to be able to get answers, at a point where you're trying to decide who the right rep is for you. There's no more expensive thing that you're going to invest in this process other than the person who's hired to represent you. So you want to make a really smart choice. I actually have a freebie 24 questions to ask a divorce attorney or a mediator. It's available for download on my site. It's a really great jumping off point to get people thinking about what they should be asking so that they can make the most of their time with that person. And I want people to always remember you don't have, it's like dating. You don't have to commit to anybody immediately. Don't feel pressured into anything. You're going to get a sense of that person's style. So it's kind of like dating. As much as they're sussing you out, you're sussing them out too. Is this going to be the right fit for me? What style of communication does this person have? Can I be neurotic? Do we communicate well with each other? They're all important things, as well as just is that person a bulldog, or are they somebody who's going to really work with you? Those are things you really need to get a good handle on before you say, yes, I'm going to sign that contract, let's move forward.
I love that free resource, 24 questions to ask a divorce attorney or mediator. And we are going to link that in the show notes so that everyone can get that resource. So, if someone were bringing you on as their divorce prep coach, what would you be doing with them through this process?
That is a great question. So I know earlier I mentioned I've just built the divorce planner on the principle, having gone through it firsthand. Like I know how tight money can be during the process. So I've really made my coaching, as well as the digital products I offer and the course I have, available at different budget levels. If you're working with me one on one, we have a session, or you can book multiple, depending on what your situation is. But even in that one initial session that I work with clients on, I'm giving you all the digital tools, but I'm also giving you a very detailed game plan of what questions you need to be asking, what steps are next, whether it's on the emotional side of the process or the business side. Dealing with parenting time, dealing with how to reach out to find resources in your area. I really go through a very detailed intake form with all of my clients and then build out, usually ends up being about an 8 or 9 page summary per client, as that really is like getting a roadmap. So you have the tools, you have the plan, but that's kind of my philosophy as well. I'm very much of the school of teach a person to fish rather than give a person to fish. So we really work as a team during this process. I want you to be aware of all the details of your life. I don't want you to be scared of what's next, because when I empower you in this way, you feel confident about taking your next steps, and you feel financially clear. And that really puts you in a position of power moving forward.
I love it. So, as we're winding down, I want to ask about your top 3 tips for people who are preparing for separation or a divorce.
Amazing. So this is so easy for me to answer and hard because, of course, you say three, I want to give you 18.
Yeah.
But I would say the top three things are: separate the emotional side of what you're going through from the business side. What does that look like? If you're not in therapy, consider it if you need it. Do you have a support system around you? Are you making time to do things you enjoy that feed your soul? Because you need to take care of yourself during this time while you're juggling all of these like things in your life. And your life doesn't just stop when you get a separation or you divorce. You still have all the same responsibilities. You could be working inside or outside of the home, rearing children, and then you add this to it. You need to take care of the emotional side of what you're going through. Number two, I want you to get access to all of the pertinent documents and statements of your life, starting with, most importantly, the last 5 years of your tax returns. That's going to put you in a really good position, and gives you like a guide of what am I looking for? What are our money realities right now? And then I really want you to start thinking about Well, if I'm going to meet with a divorce professional, whether it's a coach or a divorce attorney, or if it is a forensic accountant, somebody who specializes as you do in this part of the process, how do I set myself up for success? Arm yourself with as much of your own information and make the most of your time with whoever you're meeting by preparing questions in advance and understanding what you have access to, and also have a list of what you can't get access to. That way all of us can kind of hit the ground running and really be your real best advocate during the process.
Okay, are you ready for a bonus round question?
Yes, I am.
Okay, what is the biggest mistake that you see people making during divorce?
uh, that's a great question. I would have to say the biggest mistake I see people making is burying their head in the sand, not wanting to deal with it. They're feeling overwhelmed. They think somebody is going to take care of them. They're not, or feeling so deflated that they get paralyzed. I promise you, no matter what stage of the process you're in, if you're just starting to think about a split, this doesn't work for me anymore, this marriage, if your spouse and you have started talking about it, or if maybe it was just sprung on you, a lot of people have that, deer in headlights kind of reaction, and that's a surefire way to kind of manifest like a really shitty outcome. Take charge as soon as possible. Come talk to the divorce professional and really be gentle with yourself during this time. Just pay attention. You're always going to be your own best advocate. Nobody cares about the details of your life like you do. Don't be afraid of the process.
I understand, Alex, that you have a course, a divorce prep course called the Ultimate Separation and Divorce Prep Course. I would love for you to share a little bit about that.
It's a combination of coaching videos from me that are part of my program that have helped thousands of people prepare in advance of a divorce and a separation, as well as the digital tools. So it's like I said, I'm trying to hit people no matter what your budget level, whether it's free. Go look at my blog. It's packed with free resources and my social media. The course is really built for that sweet spot of people who want to take their time going through it. But I walk you through everything, whether it's document organization, what you need to gather, what to do if you can't. Hello, my friend Tracy. If you can't get your hands on something, breaking down kind of personal finances in the simplest way. I have a monthly budget calculator that has every possible expense prompt. It does the math for you, but it's your tool for life. And as well as I have a whole section in there. When is the right time to start meeting with professionals, divorce professionals, specifically attorneys and mediators, how to prepare, and a wealth of other things. It's basically like a bouillon cube that you get to do from like the comfort of your own home. And I'm so proud of it.
I think it sounds so exciting. I actually can't wait to take a look at it myself because I know how necessary these tools are. And I am sure, knowing you, it is absolutely amazing.
Thank you so much. It's definitely a point of pride. The fact that you and I get to work in a kind of an area that actually has a positive effect on people's lives is such a joy. And to be able to give people access to being able to navigate this time in a way that is really going to improve their life is such a blessing. It's a joy.
I agree. Thank you so much for being here with me today. It's been an awesome conversation.
Thank you, Tracy.